In a mysterious place, shrouded in darkness, Nobuaki stands all alone, wondering where he actually is. Just then, he receives a message on his phone, informing him about the king's game and how the disobedient ones will be punished. This terrifies him, and he receives another message stating that Nobuaki will be punished by drowning to death. Suddenly, a massive wave engulfs Nobuaki, and as he is drowning, a naked girl appears out of nowhere and tells him that she wants to survive with him. The girl then starts breaking into pieces, which traumatizes Nobuki, and he starts shouting like a mad man. During a sports festival at Curie Academy, the relay race has just begun as Nobuaki receives the baton from a slow-AF girl who can't seem to handle her own melons. Nobukai runs as fast as he can and passes on the baton to Natsuko, who eventually wins the race. The class takes a memorial picture, which makes Nobuaki remember the time when he first enrolled here. On his first day, he was assigned the seat beside Natsuko, who seemed overly friendly. Nobuaki, who had never felt the touch of a woman, gets scared and brushes her off. During recess, his classmates surround him, but being the little bitch he is, Nobuaki urges them to leave him alone and rushes outside. As he is sitting all alone, Natsuko appears at the spot and asks him some questions about his previous school. Nobuaki keeps ignoring her, just like you are ignoring your pending assignments. Later on, she asks Nobuaki to participate in the relay race alongside her, but he refuses. Despite this, his classmates somehow manage to convince him. On his way back, Nobuaki overhears some girls talking about Natsuko's past and how her parents are dead, which shocks him. He fails to comprehend how she is so cheerful. In the present, Nobuaki is grateful that he participated in the relay race and wants things to stay the same. Just then, he receives a message from the king, instructing all students to participate in the king's game. Otherwise, they'll be punished. For the first task, Nobuaki and Natsuko are supposed to kiss each other. This scares the shit out of Nobuaki. The following day, Nobuaki gets surrounded by his classmates, who wonder if he's the one who sent this message, because he wanted to kiss Natsuko. He realizes that the class reaction is the same as his previous class and attempts to convince them that the game is real. His classmates deem him a creepy lowlife and start ghosting him, just like my crush ghosts every time I text her. Later on, Nobukai gets approached by Natsuko's friend, who reveals that Natsuko's taste in men is poorer than a broke college student's dinner menu. Nobuki, however, doesn't give flying F's about it and asks her to leave him alone. Inspired by Dazai, Nobukai wants to die and sits alone in a park. Natsuko somehow manages to find him and eventually kisses him before midnight. This completes the task and both of them survive. They then receive a plethora of messages from the king, assigning weird tasks to everyone. One of the messages instructs them to not indulge in deep rest, which scares the living shit out of Nobuaki, and he immediately asks Natsuko to summon everyone in this park. He then heads to Furusawa Tsubasa Place, who lives nearby, and upon reaching there, he comes across Tsubasa attempting to commit suicide. He keeps receiving notifications about his classmates committing suicide because they failed to complete the task. He eventually reaches the park where the remaining students are gathered. He asks them to listen to him, but his classmates are extremely pissed off by this. They refuse to believe that all of this is real and blame Nobuaki for everything. Suddenly, one of them reveals that their classmates are actually committing suicide after this message. This makes them wonder if a serial killer is behind all this. Nobuaki attempts to explain that a person cannot do all this since he has already experienced all this. His classmates then question what happened at the end of this game. In response to this, Nobuki reluctantly reveals that all of them died except him. Hearing all this, Natsuko's friend accuses him of attempted murder on Natsuko because he refused to kiss her. This makes his class fellows hate him even more, and they start beating him just like my abusive ex used to beat me. Just then, one of them receives a punishment from the king for disobeying the order and dies a gruesome death. This shocks everyone since they cannot comprehend what just happened. Nobuaki seizes the opportunity to clear his name and asserts that blaming him won't do shit to them. This makes Natsuki realize that she'll also die if she doesn't allow Teruaki to create mini versions of himself inside her. Natsuki rushes towards Nobuaki and asks what she should do. Nobuaki asserts that it is better than dying a gruesome death, but Natsuki wanted to lose her virginity to someone she liked. Being the Chad he is, Nobuaki doesn't give a shit about her and starts telling them another story of his past. In the past, his classmate wanted to grope Satomi's melons, even though she is flat like a cutting board. At that point, all of them were taking it easy and thought that this king's game is some prank. Later that night, all of them receive some new tasks from the king and a message informing them about Satomi and that pervy guy's death. The following morning, their teacher also reveals this gruesome to them, which shocks them. Despite this, they deem this a coincidence and don't want to believe this because they have insane trust issues, unlike me, who trusts people blindly. The king had ordered 2 of them to hook up with each other, and they were scared if they'll die for disobeying the king. Nobuaki and the others reassure them that people don't die because of a stupid game. Misaki's boyfriend even threatens Daisuke to kill him if he hooks up with her. Later on, as Nobuaki is crying like a bitch while talking to Shiemi about their dead classmates, they receive messages that the order was completed. This makes them realize that Misaki and Daisuke have probably made a mini version of Daisuke already. The following morning, Misaki's boyfriend Shota confronts Daisuke and beats the living shit out of him for doing something he couldn't do this entire time. His classmates attempted to stop him, but the king had granted Shota the king's authority for the day. He can order anyone to do something and they have to do it as if the king had ordered them. He immediately orders Daisuke to kill himself, as all of them receive messages about this order. Daisuke pisses himself and runs off. Nobuaki follows him, and they have a heartfelt conversation regarding their passions. Nobuaki then decides to stay alongside Daisuke for the day and prevent him from dying. With this, he goes to Daisuke's home alongside another friend who had nothing better to do. They enjoy their time like there's no tomorrow to make Daisuke at ease. At night, Nobuki compliments his bracelet and wonders if he should get a part-time job to buy one. In response to this, Daisuke tells him that he can have it when he dies, but Nobuaki corrects him. With no other option left, they start playing guitar and the clock eventually strikes 12, and much to their surprise, Daisuke is still alive. However, as they relax for a bit, Nobukai receives a call from Shiemi who asks him about Daisuke, wondering if he's alive. Nobuaki reassures her that he's fine, but just then he notices that Daisuke is no longer with them. He rushes downstairs to find him dead. In the present, this story shatters everyone as Nobuaki asserts that they have to work together. Suddenly, Teruaki approaches Natsuki and forces him upon her. She protests and hesitates in the beginning, but after realizing that no one will save her, she kicks Teruaki and takes off her shirt. For some reason, Natsuki's personality has changed entirely, and she has turned into a whore. Her personality is even more twisted than the excuses she gave for standing me up. Natsuki had been pretending all this time to gain sympathy, just like my manipulative ex, and it worked like wonder. Nobuki, however, still doesn't approve of her actions, and seeing this, Natsuki takes him aside. She cannot comprehend why Nobuaki wants to save everyone even though they treated him like the trash he is. Hearing this, Natsuki tells him that she hates him and wants him to disappear out of his sight. She even accuses him of attacking her and gains more sympathy from others who blindly believe that start beating Nobukai like he's some punching bag. Seizing the opportunity, Natsuki asks one of their classmates to send a text message to Nobuaki saying die because the king has ordered her to text her classmates something. She attempts to manipulate her, but the girl brutally refuses, stating that she doesn't want to become a murderer. As they are whooping his ass, another guy named Kenta appears at the spot, searching for Nobuaki. He wonders why his classmates are gathered in the park and questions if they are celebrating something. Just then, he notices wounded Nobuaki on the ground and rushes towards him. He immediately realizes that his classmates must have done this and questions the reason behind this. They make some lame-ass excuses, but Kenta still refuses to accept this and challenges them to fight him if they want to gang up on someone. Just then, Natsuki interrupts the conversation and asks him to shut up. Seeing her melons, Kenta gets a boner and Natsuki is forced to put on a shirt. She instructs Mizuki to send the message to Kenta and Nobukaki. She attempts to manipulate her just like my ex manipulated me into believing that she was loyal. Mizuki, however, refuses to accept this and accidentally smashes her phone. Seeing this, Natsuki asks Teruaki to accompany her if he doesn't want to die. This pisses off Kenta, and being an advocate of gender equality, he grabs her collar and smashes her to the ground. He then decides to take Nobuaki to the hospital and Mizuki asks to accompany them. Natsuki also wants to accompany them, but Kenta slaps her like a Chad. On their way to the hospital, Mizuki starts crying like a bitch because she doesn't want to die and has lost her phone. Kenta promises to fix it and protect her, since he can order himself to protect her. Hearing this, Mizuki tears up and believes him. Kenta then asks Nobuaki if all of this is really his fault, and he agrees. He apologizes for dragging all of them into this and starts another backstory. Following Daisuke's death, Nobuaki and the others have realized that the king's game is real, and people can actually die. Their next order is to conduct a popularity poll between Kana and Naoya. Some students object, but they have no other option. Nobuaki and Chiemi are on Naoya's side and want him to win. They decide to talk to the girls and convince them. Nobuaki somehow manages to convince Misaki using Daisuke's name, which pisses off Kana, and she decides to resort to other means. She uses her disgusting body to convince the guys to vote for her and promises to do anything if she wins. Nobuaki gets this information from Shota, who wants to atone for his sins and realizes that they might lose at this rate. Following all this, the voting wins, and for some reason, Naoya wins against Kana, who cannot comprehend how this is possible. Fearing some insane punishment, Kana jumps off the building in an attempt to commit suicide. Her punishment was to confess to her crush, but she didn't even see the message and jumped off. At the hospital, Naoya deems Nobuaki a hero for saving him, but according to Nobuaki, he's a demon who manipulated others. He sent his classmates a message saying that he can save 4 people and promises to save them if they vote for Naoya. He basically forced all of them to betray Kana and vote for Naoya. Later that night, as Nobuaki, Naoya, and Chiemi are discussing all this, Naoya comments how close both of them are and gets jealous. Following this, the king orders Naoya to fulfill an order in Kana's stead because she is dead. He is ordered to have sex until midnight, otherwise he will face punishment. Nobuaki notices that they don't have much time, and with no other option left, he forces Chiemi and Naoya into a room and locks them in. Naoya doesn't want to betray him, but Nobuaki insists that it is better than dying. Naoya still insists that he would be better off dying than betraying his friends. Hearing this, Nobuaki knocks him unconscious and instructs Chiemi to get him laid. After some time, she comes out of the room with tears rolling down her cheeks. She rushes towards Nobuki and hugging him. She confesses her love to him. Nobuaki also confesses his love and promises to protect her no matter what happens. In the present, Kenta deems Nobuaki a great guy who just wanted to save his friends. Meanwhile, Natsuki and the others wonder what they should do. While Natsuki comes across Nobuaki's phone, Kenta, Mizuki, and Nobuaki are walking together after leaving their dumb classmates behind, just like some of you guys do in every group project. Kenta tells Nobuaki that he is going to look for Mizuki's phone, so he should go and get himself treated at the hospital. Nobuaki tells him that he has to go to the King Game's origin, an old village where it first took place, in order to find some clues. He tells them that the village was once very peaceful and inhabited with people until one day they started to receive letters from the King's Game, and soon everyone died and the village was uninhabited. Kenta says that he will most probably find a solution to end this King's Game once and forever. Kenta and Nobuaki hop on the first morning train with Mizuki tagging along because, let's face it, who wouldn't feel safe with Mr. Big Guy Kenta by their side? On their way, Nobuaki asks Mizuki regarding her outfit because she looks as if she's going to an anime Comic-Con. Mizuki replies that she's wearing sneakers, and as she lifts her foot to show them, Kenta gets a sneak peek of her panties as she's wearing a super short bottom, making him blush. Kenta's in for an eyeful but swiftly masters the art of looking away. Kenta is locked in. Unlike most of you simps, who binge-watch anime recaps all the time, Mizuki asks regarding the king from Nobuaki, to which he tells him the story of his previous class. In the previous king game, Nobuaki suspected one of his class members to be the king. So to confirm this, one of the girls in her class, named Nami, orders herself to touch the king when she gets the king's power. She thinks that by doing this they can find out who the king is. She tells Nobuaki regarding this, and tells her regarding the consequences of this order. She can even die if they are wrong, to which Nami's all like, "It's fine. The king's gotta be from our class just because Nobuaki said so." She simps so hard, agreeing to anything he says. Where do I find someone who believes in me like that? Nami starts touching everyone, starting from the boys first, as Nobuaki checks his phone for the message of obedience. She keeps poking everyone until she gets to Ria, the quiet one they suspect is the king. It's always the silent introvert types, isn't it? Nobuaki is expecting a message from the king, but just like me waiting for my crush to reply for the past 3 years, he gets a message from his mom reminding him to microwave dinner. Despite touching her and then Shiemi and all the other girls, Nami didn't get the text for obedience. Nami feels pretty bad, so she runs away from everyone else. Chiemi tries to stop her, but she pushes her away. Nobuaki then comes and asks her if she is fine, to which she replies telling him to find Nami. Nobuaki runs and tries to find her everywhere, in hopes that she won't hurt herself. He gets quite disappointed when he doesn't find her. He then thinks where he would go in a situation like this and goes to a lake where he usually goes to, and he finally finds her. It's like that one mesmerizing, peaceful spot that no one knows about, so you can just chill and escape from everyone, even your nosy siblings. Nobuaki tells Nami that the punishment won't be that severe, but Nami is still afraid, so she tells Nobuaki to stay with her. So Nobuaki pulls an all-nighter with her, fearing her punishment, and guess what? She finally confesses she likes him. Some people just like Yaol, who've never felt a woman's touch, need a life-threatening deadline just to make a move. Upon midnight, the punishment comes and Nami loses her eyesight, going blind. The king's just trolling, saying he's from their class. So now it's time for them to turn against each other even harder. Nobuaki tries to make Nami feel better, as she just lost her eyesight. He then gets his order to lose something he values. He hides it from Nami because he's afraid she might do something wrong. They sleep near the beach, and the next morning Nobuaki wakes up to find Nami disappeared because she called one of their class fellows to find out regarding Nobuaki's order. He calls Nami and finds her nowhere. Nami then calls her to ask if he values her, as she stands near the sea, ready to sacrifice for the love of her life. Nobuaki goes psycho and destroys everything in his room in hopes of getting message of obedience, but he doesn't get it. He even calls Chimi and tells her that he likes Nami and that he had sex with her and kissed her, but he still received the text for King's obedience. Nami calls Nobuaki for the final time as she walks into the sea for Nobuaki's order to be fulfilled. Nobuaki cries as he reaches the beach to lose one of his close friends yet again. Ria comes up to Nobuaki at the beach just as he lost her close friend Nami. Ria thinks that it was dumb of Nami to die herself, even though her punishment wasn't even death. Nobuki gets angry upon hearing this and grabs her from her collar. Ria makes him confused, saying that she could be the king, and then says that he would have died if that is the case. She's delusional and psycho, just like my toxic ex at this point. Ria tases her and throws him away. He then thinks about how his friends will be saved if he just kills her here. However, Nobuaki fights these thoughts and tells Ria that he is going to kill her if he finds out that she is the king. Ria tells him that a game is supposed to be played to have fun, so she's having fun just like my ex, who used to have fun with my feelings considering them a game. Raya says that she will kill anyone if that is what it takes, to win just like some of you try. Hards would at Fortnite. Kaori and Yusuke are drinking soda together as Kaori asks Yusuke if they are going to die as well. Yusuke tells her that it's going to be fine. She says that the feeling is similar to when Yusuke would protect Kakori from older children when they were young. Kaori then leaves telling Yusuke that she trusts her. She's got her eyes set on Yusuke, planning their post-King's game date already. Who said life or death situations can't lead to romance? Naoya and Nobuaki are sitting in Nobuaki's room as they go through the messages to find out even more class fellows who died. Nobuaki says that he is done with the game at this point. Just then, he gets a call from Yusuke telling him that he got a clue regarding who the king could be. He says that everyone who dies receives a single text message from the king. Dude's going full Sherlock as he pieces it all together. Then Nobuaki spills Nami's final message to Yusuke. He tells regarding Ria to him and comes to find out that Ria used to laugh and smile until she got raped by his biological father one day. He then asks Yusuke to take care of Kaori if he is gone, and Nobuki reassures him that he will. Upon midnight, they get multiple messages of their class fellows punished for not obeying King's order. Nobuaki calls everyone in a panic, but no one picks up the call. When he calls Shota, Shota tells him that he has blocked and chokes to death, just like he left us hanging with that suspense. Naoya then tells Nobuaki that Shota and 3 other guys blocked the king yesterday, and that's why they might have died. They connect the puzzle and realize that they died because they left the game in between. Another one of their class fellow dies because she got her phone switched off. No one can escape the king, and then upon midnight, they receive a confusing text to not do anything unnecessary. Nobuaki is simp just like me, so he is worried about Chime as usual. So he tries calling her, but she does not pick it up. He calls everyone else who's alive to stop them from blocking the king. He then runs over to Chime's home to check up on her. Nobuaki calls Hiroko, warning her not to block the king. But as he hangs up, they get a text about Hiroko's punishment. Nobuaki's like, I just told her not to do that, but of course her dumbass does the exact opposite. Nobuaki realizes that she died because she cried, and just like Hiraki, Hirofumi is punished to death for crying as Nobuaki calls him. Hirofumi straight up calls himself a crybaby, like it's the most natural thing in the world for him to tear up. Nobuaki calls Naoya and tells her to inform everyone regarding the crying punishment. Nobuaki resists himself from crying as he sits in despair thinking about Chime. He then receives a call from Yusuke, who informs him regarding the first King's game that happened in a village named Yonaki, and sends him the information. Yusuke knows that he is cooked when Nobuaki tells him regarding the crying order. He tells Nobuaki that he has cried and tells him to take care of Kaori. Yusuke dies from dismemberment, but makes sure to send Nobuki the information before he dies. Bro's dedicated to his task of exposing the king, unlike some of Ya, all who won't dedicate an hour to do their pending assignments. Nobuaki then calls Kaori and tells her regarding the crying punishment for the day, and reassures her that Yusuke is fine. Nobuaki then gets ready to head towards the Yonaki village. He gets hit in the head with a metal rod by someone while he's waiting for the train. He wakes to find himself in ropes, and it was no one other than Kaori. She sussed him to be the king because he lied just like your parents lie when they say that you are not adopted. Nobuaki gets Kaori emotional as he tells her regarding Yusuke's final words, and because of this Kaori cries. Kaori receives a punishment and dies in front of Nobuaki. Bro is feeling guilty because he made her feel all romantic for you. Suke, her childhood protector. He considers the girl fellow Chia as the worst threat since she hates him. But let's be honest, Bro is pretty much cooked just because of his ugly face. It's over for this subhuman even if he tries looks maxing. Him and everyone else that they should all work together like Nobuaki says and not against each other. Kita agrees, saying they should work against the king, and Toshiyuki, the bully, tells him to roll the dice. Then, Toshiyuki is worried because someone has to roll the dice, and he does not want to be that person. Personality, and that he is surely going to die if anyone rolls the dice except his Bef goon, who she calls Toshiyuki. As they are fighting, he tells Naoya that deep down he is relieved as well, and then punches him when Naoya tries to punch him. And this makes the bully Toshiyuki pissed at him. He grabs Chime by her neck, puts a knife around her throat, and tells them to roll the dice and spare him, or else he would kill Chime, for Chime and Nobuaki, and to repay the favor. He rolls the dice just to get a 6, which is the worst he could get at this stage. Everyone chuckles in danger as they see the 6 on dice. Naoya then starts taking names as Toshiyuki tells him to. Toshiyuki tries to pressurize Naoya and tells him to take Nobuaki's name, but there was no way he would take his name ever. Toshiyuki's goon then pushes him away and they both get killed upon Naoya taking their name. Ria then opens her laptop and tells, regarding the Yonaki village history and the virus, how it spread against itself, and that King's game is this autoimmunity and power of human suggestion. Kenta asks Nobuaki regarding the order Mizuki received, and whom should she send the message to. Nobuaki says that they should send it to Natsuko and Haruka, because Haruka is already doomed and Natsuko's evil ass is going to be a problem later on. Mizuku is scared as they walk until they finally reach the other end of the tunnel to find it unblocked, probably because the workers were afraid to block the other side because of this deadly virus. Walk through the abandoned village and find a house with Honda written outside. Nobuaki knows this name is familiar, so he goes in alone. Kenta and Mizuki don't accompany him because they are weak. Nobuaki is surprised to find a photo of Kiemi and her father. It's a photo of Chiemi's father with her 2 daughters, one of them being Chiemi. Nobuaki realizes that her father killed himself, but he's confused as to why he is apologizing to them. He realizes that he was the part of King's game in this village, and he somewhat dragged his daughters into this cursed game and then committed suicide out of this guilt. Bro's Sherlock Holmes at this point as he's sniffing out all the clues. Meanwhile, Kenta finally finds Mizuki, who then says goodbye to him and tells him that she is going to text herself and Natsuko because she hurt Kenta. She simps hard and is down bad for our Sigma boy Kenta and confesses her love for him and tell him to reply saying that she is cute or pretty. However, Kenta is not a simp like you virgins and refuses, which makes Mizuki run away for putting him in an awkward position. Kenta runs after her and catches up to her, and she's weak. Just as they get romantic, Mizuki gets completely psycho in love and tells Kenta that she is going to message herself and him so they can die together. Nobuaki then finally finds Kenta and Mizuki and gets to know that they both are going to get punished to death for not obeying the order, and that it was because Mizuki lost her original phone, with which she had to text 2 people to die. Kenta apologizes to Nobuaki and is unable to face him and then dies because of suffocation. As he is getting suffocated, Mizuki wakes up just then to get herself. Nobuaki then gets a call from Natsuko, who's writing a class fellow because of her orders from the king. She belongs to the streets just like every gold digger nowadays. She asks, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more. And check out some of our other series shown on screen now.